The study of how black women are treated in Paris, France, compared to how they are treated in the United States. Do you mind if we take a quick history lesson? You don't? Well, follow me. Determined, beautiful, happy, innocent, hard working, and intelligent. Not words that represent black women according to Google, of course. And if you think that black women arose from the bottom of the slave ship, think again. There's no way possible that we could just manifest from slavery. We were queens. We were scientists, doctors, teachers, and anything else that you can imagine. For Pete's sake, it's called Mother Nature. And we are still these great human beings. But where did we go wrong? What did we do? Are we questioning ourselves? Do we ask this question too many times? What does the world think about us? Are we not intellectual and respected human beings anymore? So I start my research around the world in 2 years. And on this research, I went to different countries and cities such as Paris, Istanbul, London, Belgium, Amsterdam, and Barcelona. Take a look at this graph for me, please. This is the population between all of these countries and cities I named. The population, the black population, and the black women population. But for this research, specifically, I will focus on Paris, France. A beautiful city, the city of lights, the city of love. But what do they think? Their population is 12,741,346, while the black population is 1.5 million, and just 52% of that black population is women, the black women, bringing us to 780,000. But let's take a trip, an adventure, a journey to Paris, France, where I will meet and sit down and talk to two incredible gentlemen, starting with.
My name is Luis George Tin.
And your age?
I am 43 years old.
What is your occupation?
I am a French teacher and I teach at the University of Orléans.
Where are you from?
I was born in Martinique in the French West Indies and I am a French citizen then.
And how do you identify yourself with?
I identify myself as a black person, as a person of African descent as well, as a French citizen, as a gay activist as well, as an anti-racist person, a defender of human rights.
And
My name is
then,
Kefi Donna.
what is your age?
I'm 32-year-old.
What is your occupation?
I'm a tour guide.
And where are you from?
I'm from Martinique.
How do you identify yourself?
Uh, as a Martinique person, as a black man, and as a French citizen.
To be black in Paris is to work against your own invisibility. Most people believe black do not exist as such. The word black itself is somehow taboo in France. So it's a bit hard to be black in Paris or in France.
I can only, of course, speak for my experience. I would say that it is a challenging experience. At the same time, I would say that some of the challenges, of course, are tough because you have to deal with stuff like microaggressions, some sort of inequalities, of course, but as well it's a city with an interesting and vibrant black community and a very interesting cultural, how to say that, there are a lot of different influences and cultures meeting together, so it gives it a very multicultural vibe that is quite unique.
Have you ever been treated differently because of your race?
Oh yes, of course. I think my first remembrance of being treated in a different way was when I was 7 years old. I went to church for the first time, and I was very happy to go to church because I was born in a Christian family. And I wanted to hear the priest, so I sat myself on the first bank. And a very old lady, a black lady, came to speak to me and say, "You cannot sit here. You have to go backwards." I said, "Why?" She said, no, you have to go backwards." I said, "But why?" "I don't know. I'm a good student. I want to hear what the priest has to tell me." So I had to go backwards. And 5 minutes later, I saw a group of white people who sat on the bank where I wanted to be. And I understood later that these people were what we call in Martinique the Béké. The Béké is the name that the descent of the slave owners gave to themselves. So of course they had the priority, they had to sit in the front, and as a black person I had to sit backwards.
Okay, thank you. Have you ever been treated differently because of your race?
I think so, yeah.
Can you explain the time?
When I was doing an internship in a nursing home, in the management of a nursing home, I'm pretty sure that the interactions I had with some colleagues were biased by the fact that some of them were racist or really prejudiced.
How does Paris view black women?
But even more invisible.
When they think about the Persian woman, they never see a black woman.
A group of Afro-feminists in France. Their presence is stronger and stronger, I think. They have medias, they have social medias, and they argue more and more, and people understand a little bit more their speech, which is strong, which makes sense. And for example, they reveal things that nobody knows in France.
It's not always easy because people have such a strong opinion about what a Parisian woman looks like in terms of style, ethnicity, body. It's not always easy to be a black woman because you're going to be different than the stereotype that people have about the.
A book was written recently about the history of black women in La Réunion. La Réunion is one of the overseas territories in France. So in fact, it is in the southwest of Africa. But the people there are French citizens. Françoise Vergès, the woman who wrote the book, tells us about the history of these black women who were sterilized in the 60s or the 70s. So while white feminists here were asking the right for abortion, black women in La Réunion were sterilized by force, even if they didn't want, because the authorities said there are too many black people in this country, in this area, that's a bit difficult. It's better to sterilize the person to limit the number of black people.
The Persian woman. When they think about the Persian woman, they never see a black woman.
How do you view black women in Paris? Or black women in general?
I view them as people who try to survive.
How do you view black women?
How do I view black women? I don't have any specific problems with black women. My mom is a black woman. My sister is a black woman. My girlfriend is a black woman. So no, we're good.
Can you explain the race gap in Paris?
But do you mean in Paris particularly as opposed to the rest of the country or in France?
In France. The race gap in France.
The race gap is obvious, even if most people don't want to see it. Figures show that when you are black, you are 7 or 8 times more likely to be stopped and searched by the police. Also, when you are black, you are 8 times more likely to be killed by the police. When you are black, woman or man, you will earn less money for the same position, and the gap between white and black is about 20%.
For me, is very visible. It's about education because, you know, public schools and public universities in France are very cheap. It's almost free, but some are better than others. And if you want to have like the best options to go, for instance, to a really fancy public high school, it's easier for you if you live in a nice neighborhood than if you live in the projects.
And during your lecture, you said to be black and a woman is almost the worst thing to be in Paris. Can you elaborate and explain?
Yeah, of course, black women suffer from a double discrimination. So that's why it's difficult to be so. You have to fight twice as much. And sometimes the hypocrisy of the systems make it pretend that it is easier for black women. And sometimes also political parties, for example, tend to hire more black women than black men. Because of course we have one person, but you can say, I hired a woman and I hired a black person. But this is just, you know, an appearance. I mean, roughly speaking, the situation is worse, of course. That's obvious.
Also mentioned that you don't have an African studies in the educational system here in the high schools and the university levels. Do you have women's studies at least, or how do you see the educational system developing into trying to get these type of courses?
We don't have African studies in France. We have Francophone studies in literature, but this is different. Francophone means all the countries where French is spoken. That includes Mali or Congo, but that includes also Switzerland or Belgium or Canada. So we don't have something like African studies as such, and the government does not want it. It's not just because they forgot to do it, it's because they don't want it. When we discussed with them, they always said no. Women's studies tend to develop more. We have several universities in France where women's studies occur. So you can have a degree in women's studies or sexual studies or gender studies. That's possible in France. So I would say that African studies or African French studies are not as much developed as gender studies can be.
Saying that it's not common to see, you know, on TV, two black people in love. Is that in real life? Because from what I saw, I see a lot of interracial couples.
Yeah.
If I don't see the interracial couples, I saw a lot of mixed race babies. So what are your views on that?
I don't really care of what people do or choose for their personal lives.
No.
But I'm answering the question. But I feel like it's not a coincidence. You know, if you have only black couples or only interracial couples, it's not a coincidence. It's because society might push you in a direction or another.
After talking to these two wonderful gentlemen, I believe it's time to come home to the United States. Stay tuned for part 2, whereas I sit down and speak with Miss Sharon Cooper, the sister of the late Sandra Bland, and Mike Brown, Sr., the father of the late Mike Brown, Jr. So